Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. This is the Moto Edge, the Motorola Edge. If you remember, I recently unboxed the Moto Edge Plus, which is kind of like this phone's more fancy flagship-y version. But that doesn't mean the Moto Edge isn't a good phone. It's just a little bit more affordable as a flagship, I guess. More importantly, the Moto Edge Plus is a Verizon exclusive in the US with millimeter wave 5G, so it's a bit of a beast. This is half the price right now, $500 US instead of $1,000. Now this is a temporary price, not sure if it'll last, but right now, for the next little while, you're gonna be able to buy the Moto Edge for $500 instead of $700. And again, the Edge Plus is $1,000, so it's a big difference. So, you know, these are very similar phones, however, half the price. So what's changed? What's different? That's what we're going to go through with this unboxing video. Of course, unboxing it. So here's the box. There's a bunch of stuff in the back, a bunch of stuff on the sides and all that. There's an IMEI sticker here. So let's open it up. Dun, 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 dun. Protective cover in box. Oh, we've got something here. Ooh, this is nice. That means there's actually a case in here. Let's start with that, shall we? Oh, look at that. We get a case. We didn't get a case with the Moto Edge Plus. So that's nice. I like these TPU cases. They're very popular with Chinese phone manufacturers and they're pretty decent quality. They're like a flexible rubberized material and these don't get yellow with time, the good ones. So this is nice to have. You can protect your phone a little bit. Notice how there's a big cutout on the edge here because this phone has this crazy edge display that kind of waterfalls a lot to the sides. This might be a deal breaker for you. I'm not a big fan myself, but I don't hate it either. So, all right. So then we got the phone, and then we've got some materials. Now this phone is sold unlocked in the US, and it's still a 5G phone. But being unlocked, it basically just supports sub-6 5G, the 5G used by T-Mobile and AT&T right now. So there we go. I think I got everything out of here. Yep. There is a SIM removal tool, as you see here. There is a Moto Edge README. So, I mean, that's probably just the intro. I'll just show you quickly what's on here. And in back, it's in Spanish, I think. Yep. All right, that's it for that. And then we've got the, warranty, safety stuff that nobody reads. Then we have a charger here. Let's see. I'll hold this up and we can maybe see what the wattage is on this. No idea, honestly. Might be 18 watts. That's typically what Moto's been shipping with. USB Type A, and then we've got a USB Type A to Type-C cord that goes with it here. As you can see, Type A on one end, Type-C on the other. That's it for the box. There's nothing else in here. Let's move on to the phone, shall we? So here we go. Ooh. Let's see what color this phone actually is. Oh, it's a little bluish, purplish pearlescent color. Nice. So let's turn it on, and while I do that, let's talk about some of the features on this phone. As you can see, this display is pretty amazing. It's very little bezel all around. There's a tiny little chin down here. It is a 6.7-inch 1080p display, 90 Hertz. So 1080p, 6.7-inch, a 90 Hertz display. Same display as the $1,000 Moto Edge Plus. That's a big deal. As you can see, it curves around quite a bit, right? That's a lot of curve right here. Let me show you on the other side. You can see it really well here. It's a lot of curving. Now you can turn off the edges and turn this into a 21:9 display if you want. I think by default, it's a 19.5:9 display. And it's AMOLED, of course, as an in-display fingerprint sensor. The front camera is the same as the Moto Edge Plus. It's a 25 megapixel f/2.0 with 0.9 micron pixels. It's fine. I believe it does pixel binning. Doesn't support 4K video though, which is a bummer. And then the big difference between this phone and the Edge Plus is that, of course, the Edge Plus is a Snapdragon 865. This is a Snapdragon 765G, so it's a pretty good, pretty fast chip, but it's not quite as fast as the H65. But frankly, the only time you'll notice is when you're playing games or something really intense. Like I just reviewed the OnePlus Nord, which is a Snapdragon 765G, same chip but this phone. And honestly, you can't tell the difference between that and a flagship. So your mileage may vary here because Moto might not optimize the software nearly as much. The nice thing about this is it's Android 10 and it's very pure. Moto really likes to not bloat their Android, which is really good. All right, let's turn it over and have a look at the back because, wow, fingerprint magnet, check it out. So there's a bunch of cameras back here, and that's actually the same setup as we saw on the Moto Edge Plus. There's only one change, and that's the main camera. Instead of being 108 megapixels, it's a 64 megapixel camera. So that's the only big difference. So 64 megapixels, f over 1.8, 0.8 micron pixels. It does quad pixel binning, so you get a 16 megapixel photo with 1.6 micron pixels out of that. Then there's an 8 megapixel telephoto, 2 times optical zoom, f over 2.4 with 1.12 micron pixels. And then you have a 16 megapixel f over 2.2 ultra wide with 1 micron pixels and a time of flight sensor, a 3D depth sensor. And of course, 4K video recording is supported here. There's a flash, you can see the Moto logo. It looks pretty nice. It's a little thinner than the Moto Edge Plus, but not by much because it doesn't have the millimeter wave antennas that are required for the Verizon network. So it's 5G, but low band, T-Mobile and AT&T compatible. There's also a pretty large battery in here, 4,500 milliamp hour. That's a little smaller than the 5,000 milliamp hour on the Moto Edge Plus, but no big deal. Considering you're not doing millimeter wave 5G on this, it should be fine. The other thing to keep in mind is that there's no wireless charging on this phone. It supports up to 18-watt wired charging, but the Edge Plus had wireless charging. In return, though, you get micro SD support on this phone, which was lacking on the Edge Plus, so you can expand it. And speaking of memory, this comes in 2 variants. There's a 4 gigabyte of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, and a 6 gigabyte of RAM, 128 gigabyte of storage. In the US here we get the 6 gigabyte version, which is good because 6 gigabyte is pretty much a bare minimum these days for RAM. I don't know how this phone would be with 4 gigabytes. I don't think it'd be very good. So that's basically it. Let me quickly walk you through the edges so you can see the layout. There is, on the right hand side here, a volume rocker up here and a power lock key. You can see them. They're very thin because they're a little below half of the edge. Then on the bottom you have a speaker. This has stereo speakers. It uses the earpiece as a stereo speaker up there. Then there's USB Type-C and of course the primary microphone and a headphone jack. Big news. The Edge Plus also has the headphone jack. On the left hand side you see absolutely nothing. And then on top here you've got the SIM tray, which is also for micro SD, and the secondary mic. That's basically the layout on this phone. That's it. I'm looking forward to using it and telling you how much less of a phone experience you get for half the price, because I really don't think it's going to be half the experience. The Edge Plus was a good phone, but it wasn't that good. So I think this is going to come very close for half the price, at least for the time being, until the regular price of $700 comes back. So check it out. I'll have a review at some point. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, tell your friends, comment in the comments below, click the little notification bell. And remember that this is a complement to the Mobile Tech Podcast. Listen to the podcast at mobiletechpodcast.com. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere. So please subscribe, tell your friend, and all that good stuff. That's it, folks. Stay tuned for another video soon. And until then, this is the Moto Edge. Cheers, everybody.